Welcome to Community Cocktails with Kimberly, hosted by Kimberly Woodard, a realtor for nearly 20 years with Ebby Halliday Realtors. Join her every first and third Wednesday of the month as she meets with the top community influencers to help you get to know the area you want to call home. Don't just love your home, love your community. And now, your host, Kimberly Woodard.
Welcome, viewers, to this episode of Community Cocktails with Kimberly. I'm so thrilled about this episode because you're going to learn so much about just all these questions that you have about financials right now, the housing market. And I have here with me Chris Collins with Collins Financial. Welcome, Chris.
Welcome. Thank you for having me.
Oh, definitely. So let's start talking about you.
Okay.
All about you.
Okay.
So, Chris, you've been doing this gig for quite some time, huh?
21 years. That's right. Yeah.
Same, like me.
Okay.
In real estate. So, long time. We've seen a lot.
Seen a lot, learned a lot.
We started when we were very young. We were in diapers.
That's right.
So let's talk about your company and what you service.
Sure. Yeah, I'm a wealth management advisor. I own my own firm, Collins Financial. Started 21 years ago. My senior year at Baylor University, I was an intern with the Northwestern Mutual.
Wow.
And it's just taken off from there. So every year is better than the previous. And so I can't believe it's been 21 years. And now my young families that I worked with 20 years ago are older, more mature, have more money, have multiple properties maybe, and they have some decisions to make around real estate. 21 years in running, and my wife's also an entrepreneur, and we have two daughters, 13 and 10, and they may be entrepreneurs down the road too. Who knows?
Who knows? There's opportunities for them. Well, this housing market is crazy. And it's not just here in our DFW Metroplex, it's all over, the country. And so I'm sure you've got clients that are coming to you, but we also have, viewers out there that, they're tossing that idea. They've lived in their home for quite some time. They've probably have a lot of equity, especially with the rise in prices on real estate. And maybe now they're reconsidering, do I really need all this house? But what can I do? Maybe I have this, 4,000 square foot home. It was great when I had the kids and we were using the, game room and the pool, but now it's just me and, my spouse, and we barely even use the upstairs.
Right.
So, they're looking at what can we do, maybe to live a, much happier life.
Well, yeah, we get a lot of those questions, whether it's a recently retired person or someone who's much older who has multiple properties. And we do get a lot of questions on, is now a good time to sell the house? And so there's a lot that goes into how do you unpackage and give good advice on that. So we certainly look at a lot of different things, but yeah, we are getting a lot of the same questions, right? So how do you want me to dig in on this one?
Let's give some ideas to people, because I know one question is always people are scared. Do I have to take all that money that I, because again, if you've lived in the home here for 20 years, you probably have a good, you're probably going to net a pretty decent amount on that house. Do we have to bring all that? Can we diversify? Can we, spend a little here, spend a little there?
Yeah. So, when people ask me that, the first thing I ask them is, how many times have you gone upstairs in the last 3 or 4 months? And I never go upstairs. It's probably time for you to reconsider. But a lot of, I think of it's half emotional, psychological. Right. Should I sell the house? A lot of, I want the big house because when my kids have grandkids and I want there to be the warm and fuzzy and Christmas morning and all that. But you're right. There's a lot of upkeep and expenses. If it's too big of a house and you're not using it, and the market's way up, it is a good time to really consider, should we sell it? And that leads me to the second half. The second point is it's a financial decision. Mm-hmm. So with my firm and my clients, my motto is helping great people be great stewards with the resources they've been blessed with. So I just want folks to be good stewards. And if we go through a financial plan and you have enough money and we don't need to sell the house, then it becomes, is it too much? Is it a burden? And if we're going to sell this house, what's plan B? Where are we going to go live? Do we downsize? Do we go? I see a lot of families pick up and move to follow the kids.
Yes.
Totally fine to do that. So Do we keep it as a rental and go buy something else? Some people want to leave their house as a legacy to their kiddos, but if they're not using it, it's becoming too much of an expense, then we definitely run a financial plan to say, if you sold your house, what do we do with these profits? Some folks want to rent for a year. Some want to buy a smaller house. But what I'm seeing a lot of people want to do is just new size. They just want a little bit smaller of a house, but they want it to be newer,
Right.
zero lot lines, something where they can just drop off the keys and go vacation and travel and tour, and not have to worry about all the upkeep. So I see a lot of families just want a newer, simpler, take advantage of the market, sell the house, take the equity, get something unique and maybe smaller, not necessarily a lot less expensive, but yeah, take the proceeds and we'll decide where's the best investment to put those to grow for retirement.
Right. Maybe they decide they don't want to be here. They want to go to Florida, or Florida's always a popular. I have several clients that I always live vicariously. Or Colorado's. I've got a lot of friends that bought other properties up there, because it's just a different climate.
Mm-hmm.
Great summers. It's not as hot as it here is in Texas. Winters are a little different.
well, yeah. When at the end of the day, it's when we run a comprehensive financial plan, it's all about what do you want every month to live and spend, and grow, and then longevity. The number one concern my families have is longevity risk. Am I going to outlive my resources?
Yes.
So clients hire me in a fiduciary capacity to basically make sure that they are not going to outlive their resources. So whether we own one home or two homes, all that matters to me is, what amount of money do you have coming in from Social Security, from pensions, from royalties, from rental income, part-time income, and how much do you want to have? And then how long is it going to last? And we fill those gaps in with our investments. But if they have too much expenses, well, then selling the house and buying something more economical and taking advantage of that hot market gives us an influx of money for retirement. And that's a big deal, right? Oh, should I just go buy a second house? Well, maybe, but that's double the expenses. That's double the taxes, double the headache. So, but can your financial plan hold that? It's all a function of how much do we have? How much do we want? Income sources coming in, and then filling the gaps with investments. So a lot of times I'll tell a family, 2 houses doesn't make sense for you, but if you want to sell the big house and buy something nice and economical and new, then we can fit that into the financial plan too. So it's the comprehensive plan determines the advice.
So what do you want to do? If you want to be jet setting all over the country, then you may 2 properties may not be in your ball game. But if you're just wanting, to take that occasional trip, and that may, because again, people are, I see people, because they've lived in those homes and the equity that they've, received, because of the marketplace, and especially, 20 years, maybe they're cashing out and they're making 400, 500 because they own the house, out. So, also looking at, do you want an investment property? Do you want that kind of, opportunity or risk to, get some additional flow of income? But it's also something you have to consider, because it's also a lot of maintenance. There's a lot of due diligence you have to do. You've got to deal with a tenant and, repairs when they call you and you're on vacation and it's 3 a.m. and they're like, the water heater just went out. Do you want to, take on that kind of thing?
Right.
So,
and is it your experience on being a landlord? I will tell you, my happiest, most at peace families that I work with have multiple streams of income coming in from Social Security, from pension, from rental income or royalties. But I do see a lot of people inheriting rental houses from their parents, and it is a headache. And so now that those property values, we're seeing a lot of second generation going ahead and selling the rental house because the market is up so high. They don't have time. They have a full-time job as a dentist or an optometrist. They don't have time to deal with a tenant in Louisville or at that time, it makes a lot of sense to sell. But for a recently retired family, they really do need to go through a comprehensive financial plan to say, do I have enough? If I feel financially secure and a planner says that I am, then we start making these good, better, best decisions. Do you want to sell the house? What do you really want to do? Do you want to buy something smaller, closer to the airport, so you can jet around? Or did a kiddo move to Colorado and you want to go buy a house up there. So
Right.
once we know that you're financially secure, then it's just more of an emotional, what am I going to feel good about this decision, as long as we're not depleting assets. And if your expenses are too high and your expenses start to run out, then you get nervous. And I don't want that for any of my families.
No, and you brought up a good point, is the emotional readiness. And I see that all the time on my side. If a person is not emotionally ready to let go of their home and move on to the next step, it doesn't matter how awesome. I say everything's timing, everything happens for a reason. The house will sit. I had one several years ago, and the kids were wanting this lady to sell. It was mom, dad had recently passed, and she was not ready. She was not emotional. She had not even, basically gone through half the grieving process. And so we, put it on the market for frills for about 30 days. And I could tell she was not ready. We took it off the market. She waited about 3 months. The day we decided to put it back on the market, as soon as it was listed, it was under contract within 24 hours with a buyer. It just happened so fast. But she was at that point emotionally ready. I don't even think if she, had an offer, she would kind of toil around it. You just have to be ready for it. And you have to be ready for, what that next opportunity is, and excited about that. And I know, this time of year, people are gathering with, family, friends, and they're all considering, okay, do Susie and her husband and the grandkids are all now transferring to, Colorado. Do we want to go up there because we want to be part of the grandkids' lives? And I'm seeing, people moving here. I've got one that's closing this week, and the reason they're moving to Texas is because the grandkids. Even though they're not going to be next door. There's like an hour distance away, but it's a lot closer than I think they were, a 15-hour drive or a 3.5-hour, plane ride. I mean, it's much closer.
It is a different world than it was, 2-3 years ago, where there's the emotional side, but when you're ready to list and sell and you don't have a backup plan, things have to happen fast. The pre-approvals I have a lot of clients, their mortgage folks ask for a statement of funds or a proof of funds because they have to be serious when it's time to buy that second house. If they're not ready to go, then they can get left out. And so we've got several folks like renting for a year is not the worst thing in the world. See if you had a family move to Austin, didn't have all their financing, they couldn't get everything ready. All these offers started coming in, and they just said, let's just hold off for a second. Let's just rent and see if we even like it down there for a year, right? Because you're forced to make decisions. You need to have someone smart like you helping these people through this. There's the emotional side, but the financials have to happen so fast these days that that's really tough. And if you're gonna follow the kids, I'll tell my recently retired folks, keep a good relationship with your spouse, your children's spouses. Because you can move around close to them. If your children's spouses don't like you as much, you're not going to see them as much as you want, no matter where you live. So have a good relationship with your kiddos' spouses, and you'll see your kids a lot more. I promise.
Family advice, right there.
There you go.
That can. They can say, "Hey, we're busy tonight."
Right. Because I want you to make a decision about where you live. Not because you have to. I've told several families you need to sell the house because we don't have enough in retirement savings. Right. You never want to have that conversation, but I view a house like a stock where we think it's going to keep long run going up in value. But you get to a point where these older houses, like my mom's house out in Louisville, something's always breaking. And these are expenses that we didn't have built into the financial plan that, this needs repair, because it's your house, there's always going to be these expenses.
There's always expenses.
So it's like, look, is it time to consider, you love that house, getting something closer to us, closer to the grandkids that would be maybe a little bit smaller, but newer, that you're not having to have these expenses with these houses that are needed.
That brings up another point, is that we also have people that, probably have lived in their homes, and now the expenses are going up, just to live in there. Maybe it's not that they've outgrown it, but it's just the cost. So taxes are going up. Cost of insurance these days. Oh, I had a heart attack when I got mine. I was like, but all those things that maybe it's time to maybe downsize or look at something else, or go maybe look at something newer in a different area location, if you don't have to be tied to that particular location. I know a lot of people with this, our environment now, are still not going into the office. Their companies have reconsidered even ever going back to the office. They're seeing that people are able to work from home more. They're more productive in some aspects than they were coming to the office.
Yeah.
And so, looking at that opens up the people for being able to just work wherever and live wherever.
I haven't seen all these new builds, but I'm assuming they're having 2 home offices, because when pandemic hit, I was like, who gets the office? Because my wife runs a business, I run a business, so we shall see. But yeah, if you don't need all that extra space and the expenses start piling up, then it's a good time. And I would suggest you sit down with a planner and say, can I do this?
Yeah.
And then we build it in. Yes, you can. Now, should you do it? That's going to be an emotional decision. Involve the kids, involve the grandkids if you want to, but financially, we can walk through to say, yes, it makes sense to do this because you want to, not because you have to.
You have to, right?
Yeah.
But again, the opportunity, you may have that opportunity to gain something, gain a new lifestyle, gain, a whole better, outcome. I mean, heck, I said, I've got kids in school, so I'm there for a while. But, I was like, if both my kids were gone, I'd really consider, downsizing, having a lesser, maintenance, and, being able to travel more, because, just a more of a lock and go type of, not have to worry about maintaining a yard and, pool and, all these other things that I do on a consistent basis. Even if, I know sometimes people consider, oh, what about the grandkids? I want to have the grandkids come over. I'll be honest, they don't really care.
There's no guarantee you're gonna get those grandkids really quick, and every time you ask for grandkids, it's just gonna get pushed back further and further.
It does.
Yeah, we said, I talked to the girls. Should we consider moving? It's our house is up in value, and my little Caitlin goes, but I love my neighbors. I don't want to. We can still come back and join. No, I don't want to leave because I love my neighbors. So you do have that emotional tie.
Right.
I'm seeing families who will sell the house and go buy in these like community areas where you have a gorgeous neighborhood surrounding, like this family in Durango, and everything's kind of based around, you have your own homes, but there's a community center, the pickleball, the tennis court, the hiking, and it's much more, you're meeting new people when you go.
Oh, definitely. That's, that's kind of our trend, the north of, our north of the Metroplex, going up to Prosper and Salina, and we're almost to Oklahoma these days with the tollway. But again, it's because people are able to. A lot of my clients that live that far, they don't necessarily have to go into an office on a day-to-day basis. And bringing to the point of 2 offices, I have a client where when they built their house, they did not, because of the open concepts, they really didn't feel like they needed a formal dining room. So what they did was they took the formal dining room in the office, converted it into beautiful offices for a husband and wife. And then they have so much living space and outdoor space and dining space in the main floor plan of this house that we probably never use this room because it's not part of this other part of how the rest of the house flows.
Right.
So looking at other ways to, convert your homes footprint. Well, I think I have a lot to think about. I think viewers out there probably have a lot to think about as well. You may be, again, sitting at home thinking, gosh, I really don't know if I need all this space, and why not capitalize on the market? So, and if you are thinking about that, you can give Chris and me a call, and we can help you walk through that process. So,
well, thanks for having me.
You're
on.
welcome.
I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Cheers. To upcoming new year.
There you go. Happy New Year.
Thanks for tuning in. If you'd like to contact Kimberly with your real estate needs, you can reach her at kimberlywoodard.ebby.com. We hope you enjoyed our guest this week, and remember, don't just love your home, love your community.